Thank you so much. As you start saying where you're from and your name, it's great to see everyone today. So we're going to officially kick off our program. It's really great to see you all online today. Thank you for joining us for the third annual Convene with the Dean. My name is Betsy Burns, and I am the Associate Vice President at Wisconsin Foundation and Alumni Association. I have the pleasure of leading our School of Education development team, and I am joining you from very snowy and icy Madison, Wisconsin. Before we get started, I wanted to give you a sense of what we'll be covering today, as well as a few notes on format and accessibility. We encourage you to turn your camera on today for today's event if you feel comfortable doing so. We will have closed captioning available for those who need it. We'll have time for questions later in the program, which you can take part in by entering your question into the chat. We recognize everyone is zooming in from different places, but there is something you all share in common. You're an alum or a friend of the School of Education. To get a sense of where everyone is coming from, for those who just joined us, again, feel free to say your name in the chat and where you're zooming in from. I see we have Christine from Beloit, Mary from Madison, Mike from Madison, Kathy from New York. Oh my goodness, we have someone coming from Hawaii. We are all envious of that location, that's for sure. We have Marlene coming here from Washington, D.C. It's just wonderful to see all of these faces and names. So it's great to connect with you. We're excited to share updates and get your input on our expanding global education efforts, which include creating transformational study abroad programs for current School of Education students. So let's get convening with our Dean today, the School of Education Dean Diana Hess.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Betsy. And it's so great to see all of you. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. As I reflect on the topic of our program today, I can't help but thinking back to 1985, when I, along with two other teachers at Downers Grove South High School, led a group of high school students to what was then the USSR. Here we are in Red Square. You can see me, I'm on the lower left with a hat on. It was March, it was really cold, so you can tell we're all bundled up. And this was just kind of an extraordinary trip. One of the other teachers named Jim Dodd was teaching an elective class in foreign policy. And during the unit on the Soviet Union, a student just randomly commented that we'll never really understand the Soviet Union unless we go there. And he came into the teacher's lounge after that class and said, you know what? We should figure out a way to take students to the Soviet Union. And we did. Again, that was in 1985. We went again 2 years later, and then many, many trips after that. One of the students on this trip went to college, majored in Russian, and eventually opened up a business in Moscow. So it was just incredible in terms of the impact that it had on those students and the impact it had on me. It was literally life-changing. And I'm sure you've had similar experiences. If you think about your experiences outside of the United States, my sense is that, like was the case for me, many of those experiences have really impacted how you think about yourself, how you think about the world. And it's that we're going to be focusing on today, because just as I had a great experience in the Soviet Union with all of these students, and so many of you have had such incredible travel experiences, we want to make sure that our students, our undergraduate and our graduate students, have wonderful opportunities to learn about the world, whether they're doing that here in Madison, Wisconsin, or doing it as part of our new study abroad program. Let me begin by talking about our Global Engagement Office. This office was opened 5 years ago, and when we opened it, we had 4 major things that we wanted to focus on. We wanted to support our international students. We've always had a lot of international students in the School of Ed, both undergrad and graduate students. We currently have over 400 students who come from all over the world, and we wanted to make sure that we had an office dedicated to ensuring that they received the support they needed. We also wanted to make sure that we were doing high quality international research, and to do that, we became a member of a collaboration called INEI that actually was formed by the previous dean, Julie Underwood, who is interested in making sure that 11 of the best teacher ed programs and schools of education in the world would come together. We just met as a group last May in Singapore. So we were interested in more international research. We were also interested in making sure that we could welcome people from other countries. Just last fall, we hosted an international group of teachers from 11 different countries in Eastern Europe, including from the Ukraine. There were about 22 of these teachers, and they were with us for several weeks. It was a program that focused on media literacy. And as part of that program, we had these teachers come to the Teaching About the Elections conference, which was really quite fascinating. When I talked to them afterwards, they couldn't help but remark on the similarities and in many cases, the big differences between how elections were run in their countries and how elections work in the United States. They also came to our homecoming tailgate. This is a picture of them at the tailgate. You can see that they're wearing, many of them, Badger red. It was quite fascinating to explain the concept of tailgate to them. When we sent them the invitation, we had forgotten that they wouldn't know what tailgate meant. But after they experienced it on this incredible day, homecoming day, they were able to say that tailgating was actually quite fun. So we're really looking forward to hosting another group of Fulbright scholars next year. And we also wanted to make sure that we had a dedicated office that would help us create a new study abroad program. So let me talk a little bit about that program. 5 years ago, when we looked at what our students were doing, we realized that not many of our undergraduates were studying abroad, and we were worried about that. And when we investigated it, we realized that there were a couple of reasons. One was that we have a lot of academic programs that start when you're a junior, they're cohorted, and you have 4 semesters of very intensive study. And that doesn't lend itself to study abroad. Not everybody studies abroad when they're juniors, but a lot of people think about that as the time when they would study abroad. So we had that challenge to work on. We also didn't have study abroad classes that were connected to our majors. And we knew a lot of students wanted to study abroad, but they wanted to make sure they were making progress on their major at the same time. And the third thing is we realized we had a lot of students who really wanted to study abroad, but they just didn't have the financial resources to do so. So we created a new program out of the Global Engagement Office. And in a nutshell, here's how it worked. We reached out to our faculty and staff in all of our 10 departments, and we said, we invite you to come forward with a proposal to create a study abroad class that would be 3 weeks long in the summer. And we want to make sure that the class was really innovative, that it was in a place that would be good for students to learn about, and that it was very importantly connected to majors. And we got all sorts of proposals, and we were very excited about that. So we funded the faculty and staff to develop these courses. And we thought that was important because oftentimes we have people who would love to develop things, but they simply don't have time to do it. So we funded the faculty and staff in the summer to develop the courses, and then they went and looked at the place where the courses were going to be held and worked out all sorts of partnerships in those nations. And then we advertised the courses, and we said, look, if you have financial need, then we will provide scholarships. So that's not an impediment to you studying abroad. And we are so thrilled that we just found out 2 weeks ago that we have lots of students who want to go on these courses. They're going to take place this summer for the first time. And today you'll learn about 2 of these courses. We think of study abroad as a broader part of this thing that we call Impact 2030, which many of you have heard about. But just in case you forgot, this was an initiative that we started a number of years ago that has a number of different pillars or focuses. And one is on making sure that undergraduate and graduate students have what we call in the ed biz high impact experiences. Study abroad is such an experience, as internships are an experience like that, and so is having opportunities to learn about research. And so this new study abroad initiative is part of the broader Impact 2030 initiative. And I just want to say that we had so much help from so many of you to create this. A number of you were on our board of visitors when this was created, and you helped us shape what the new study abroad program would look like. And a number of you have provided us with some funds in order to get this program off the ground and to provide the scholarships. So we're very, very thankful for all of your support. I want to hand the program over now to our interim faculty director of the Global Engagement Office, Aydin Bal, who's a professor in the Department of Rehab Psychology and Special Ed. Aydin is a highly regarded, internationally recognized scholar who also has a real knack for running things and for helping bring new things into fruition. And Aydin, I just want to thank you so much for the work you've been doing and also give kudos to your wonderful team. So let me turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Diana. This is such an honor and pleasure to be over here. I will share a presentation. Hopefully this will give a good overview of what we do as the Global Engagement Office. Again, it's such a pleasure and honor to be here sharing the transformative work of the Global Engagement Office with you. The Global Engagement Office, in a nutshell, Global Engagement Office connects the School of Education community with resources, knowledge, and support to engage in and carry out globally focused initiatives. The meaning of this office as an infrastructure and idea is basically telling us UW-Madison School of Education is expanding its impact and opportunities in the global context through the Global Engagement Office. School of Education, as our Dean Hess mentioned, that School of Education has created an infrastructure and culture, and through that, it's becoming one of the most influential schools of education in the United States regarding global engagement. This is such an important expansion. We want to create, in this expansion, we want to create socially just and transformative learning opportunities for all students and faculty, regardless, specifically students, regardless of their family income. So we are expanding the opportunities, but also access. This is very important for us because we acknowledge our students have wealth of knowledge and experience, and we have many faculty, students, and staff who are transnationals. So we would like to acknowledge, honor, and create an environment for them to nurture their opportunities and resources. There you go. I hope you can see my presentation. Right now, currently, actually, we had a meeting earlier. We are going to have meetings after this. Our office is working with the international academic programs on the admission and scholarship for School of Education students who will attend the student abroad programs this summer. Let me highlight what we do in Global Engagement Office in a nutshell. Then we are going to come back to our wonderful study abroad programs. Global Engagement Offices, mainly, these are our foci. We focus, we emphasize ensuring a global perspective is going to be integrated in the school's programs and culture, because we are talking about an infrastructure, but also cultural change for these transformative opportunities for all students. We cultivate a community where transnational students and visiting scholars are going to find a community where they can bring their perspectives, ideas, but also, hopefully, we are going to bring the Wisconsin idea into global context. We support students' effort to pursue study abroad, global internships, and field work outside the United States and within the First Nations. For us, those sovereign nations are global partners. So in addition to countries and places outside the United States, we work with the First Nations as a part of our Global Engagement Office. Lastly, we manage School of Education's global partnerships. Here are some pictures from our events where we welcome our international faculty, scholars, and students to School of Education. We hope to create an inclusive and streamlined process for international students and visiting scholars to the School of Education. so that we are going to have this reciprocal relationship between those faculty and students, bringing their ideas and cross-pollinating our work and our ideas with these international scholars and students. We have international culture celebrations. We host social and cultural events for our international students and our community in general. You can see some pictures from the cultural celebrations, such as Diwali, the Lunar New Year celebrations. And we also provide orientation for first-year undergraduate and graduate international students. As Dean Hess mentioned, that we hosted the Fulbright Teaching Excellence and Achievement Program in fall 2022, and I'm very happy to let you know that we are working with the U.S. Department of State to get ready for the next cohort of scholars. International scholars we are going to host. They were so impressed by our how we've hosted these scholars and created very welcoming and very rich environment for them. U.S. Department of State approached us and asked us to host this another group of scholars. I think that's UW-Madison School of Education culture in action. And we have wonderful scholars from Hungary, Lithuania, Kazakhstan, Romania, Turkey, and Ukraine. All right. In addition to creating this kind of welcoming, transformative environment, we want to nurture the educational research. So we support our graduate students through multiple funding opportunities, including Horstman International Travel Award, where our students are presenting their work outside the United States and share their ideas from learning sciences to art to special education to dance. This is an amazing opportunity for all of our graduate students to present their research and get feedback. We also provide graduate summer research and residency award for students who are going to complete their residency and summer research outside the United States within the tribal nations. Last but not least, I want to take a few moments to recognize the incredible faculty-led study abroad programs that will be launched this summer by my esteemed colleagues from across the School of Education's 10 department. There will be School of Education programs to Costa Rica, the Galapagos Islands, Portugal, Uganda, and to the United Kingdom. All the study abroad programs are hosted by International Academic Programs Office. We are very grateful to them for their support and continuing partnership in this initiative. As we are preparing our schools to increase the study abroad programs in a few years to 18 study abroad programs, we developed this close partnership with the IAP, International Academic Programs, and other programs to host these study abroad programs. So here are some pictures from our study abroad programs from Costa Rica, from Galapagos Islands. You are going to hear from my colleagues about this program. And in Portugal, you are going to also hear about that, and Uganda and London. As you can see, the geographic diversity and in terms of the contextual diversity is so important for us. So we want this program to be transformative, reciprocal, but also sustainable. In 2024, in addition to these 5 programs that we are going to run in summer 2023, this is our cohort 1. After that, we have 3 more programs are ready to go in summer 2024 in Australia, from the Rehab Psych faculty, in Dominican Republic, from our Educational Policy Studies faculty members, and Ireland by kinesiology faculty members. In addition to those programs, we are currently reviewing the proposals from Belize, Guatemala, and New Zealand programs. How about this summer? We just closed the applications, and again, as I mentioned, that we are working on the admission and the scholarship opportunities. We have 123 student applicants for our summer 2023 programs. 79 of those students receive full scholarship from School of Education. This is unheard of. This is an amazing opportunity. I just want to highlight one more time. close to 65% of all students attending these summer programs will receive full scholarship. Between our scholarship and IAP scholarship, all applicants, in addition to those students who receive full scholarship, all applicants receive $1,000 scholarship from international academic programs. As you can see, we are expanding the opportunities, but also more importantly, expanding the access. Next, you are going to hear from my wonderful colleagues about two programs. Today, we are joined by leaders of two of our 2023 study abroad courses. Mariana Pacheco, Diego Roman will be discussing their course called Curriculum Development and Galapagos Diversity. Mariana Pacheco and Diego Roman are professors of bilingual, bicultural education in the Department of Curriculum and Instruction at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Both Dr. Pacheco and Dr. Roman hold faculty affiliations to the Chicana, Latino Studies program and Latin American, Caribbean, and Iberian Studies program. But before them, first we will hear about the course, Movement as Medicine in Portugal, from one of the course leaders, Dr. Maughan Shields. Dr. Shields is the academic program manager for the undergraduate studies in the Department of Kinesiology. As the academic program manager, Dr. Shields teaches, advises, and serves on committees across the campus. Dr. Shields?
Yes, thank you for that introduction. Let me just grab my slides and hit the road. So it is my pleasure to present on one of two faculty-led programs that we are offering this summer. This is one in Portugal. Our other one in the Department of Kinesiology is heading to Costa Rica. And I think with our time together, we can answer two questions. So why Portugal? And then importantly, what are we going to be doing with our time there? So the first question, why Portugal, generally ends with, because I know someone. So when this opportunity presented itself, I have been in contact with a gal I had the pleasure of playing professional volleyball with in a small city in the northern part of Portugal. And we both went on to get our PhDs in kinesiology. So each time I have reached out to her, she has sort of directed me to her department chair, who's this gentleman, Antonio Palmeira. And he is the executive director of the International Society for Nutritional Behavior and Physical Activity, which means he's very active in the European World Health Organization guidelines and recommendations and efforts across Europe. So it's a really cool collaboration. This is Dr. Dane Cook and I. Our backgrounds are exercise psychology, so it's a nice pairing. We also don't offer anything specific to sedentary behavior in our department. So it's an opportunity to both learn as instructors, but also take the students on a really fun, unique journey of learning. Secondly, Portugal is a cool place, not only because it does not look like the Midwest, but it also has some interesting facts about health behaviors. So it leads Europe in childhood nutrition. So most fruits and vegetables in Europe. However, about 40% of their adult population doesn't hit the physical activity guidelines, which is similar to the US. And their obesity rates are incredibly low. So it'll be a really valuable place to learn about health behavior for our students. The things that we're going to cover will span 3 weeks. This is a intro level class. It is a 3-credit elective for both majors in kinesiology and health promotion, health equity. So that's about 500 eligible students to make progress on their degree while they're studying abroad. We'll do the first week online. So introduce some of these terms, physical activity and sedentary behavior. We'll go through pros and cons of different types of measurement. We'll cover some research, seminal research that has been done across the board so that we can start with a baseline of knowledge before we head over to Portugal. In Portugal, we will spend 17 days and 16 nights immersed in the culture. We'll have a didactic portion where we'll have lectures and guest speakers in the morning, and then we will go out and explore. So some of the topics that we'll cover once we get over there are relationships with health outcomes. So sedentary behavior has been identified as an independent risk factor for lots of chronic illnesses. It's a relatively new body of work, and so it'll be exciting to learn along with the students. We'll also think about sedentary behavior in special populations, so children, older adults, folks with a chronic illness, And then finally, we will end the trip thinking about interventions, both successful and unsuccessful interventions, and the myriad reasons why some of those programs are successful or not successful. So at the small university where we're going in Lisbon, they have about 10,000 students. 1,500 of those are physical education majors, which is about 1,460 more majors than we have here on campus. But the models there are they're different from what we have here. So it'll be good to compare and contrast. They're also doing a campus-wide physical activity intervention. And we have a little bit of expertise on sedentary behavior interventions here. So again, just a really interesting place to do some comparisons and contrasting. It also is important to consider behavior change is really complex. Health behavior change in particular is really complex. And so when you step outside that intrapersonal level, maybe even outside the interpersonal level to sociocultural aspects of health behavior and things that might facilitate or block behavior change, this will be such a neat place to do that. So we also very much relied on the Global Engagement Office to help us think about experiential learning. We are used to our classrooms and our labs where we have virtual control over everything. So we're trying to lean into the let the place do the teaching. So we do have excursions planned across Lisbon, which is a beautiful, historic, culturally relevant city. We'll also take an overnight trip up to Porto, which is a city full of bridges in the northern part of the country. We'll take a full day trip to a national park with these really cool walkways. It just represents a place where folks can be physically active. We hope that the ultimate learning objective here for our students is that we help them stretch and flex their perspective on the complexity of health behavior so that they go on to become more empathetic and qualified healthcare providers. And before I stop, I do just want to reiterate all the thanks that have been thrown around. This project would not have happened if we weren't able to go over and meet some of our collaborators this summer. So thank you again, and I'll end it there.
Buenas tardes and good afternoon. My name is Mariana Pacheco. I'm co-presenting with my esteemed colleague, Professor Diego Roman. Our program is called UW-Education, Diversity and Community in the Galapagos Islands. The course we developed as part of this program will expose UW students majoring in education to different bilingual education models in the context of the Galapagos archipelago and how these programs pick up notions of community and diversity locally. So most popular media narratives about the Galapagos describe it as an undisturbed natural paradise characterized by its endemic species and the diversity of endemic flora and fauna. It is a paradise. We did go visit it last year and last summer, and it really is paradise. However, the human population of the archipelago has also increased substantially in recent decades, primarily due to Ecuadorians migrating from the continental mainland, seeking employment in the tourism and service industries. During our visit last summer, I was struck by the tensions between conservation efforts to protect natural life on the islands and concerns about overpopulation as everyday Ecuadorians seek socioeconomic opportunities in the Galapagos. So these tensions are perhaps most evident in 3 urban centers where 90% of the human population in the Galapagos currently resides permanently. Indeed, the majority of pre-K-12 schools are located in these urban centers. So our UW students will have the opportunity to engage in robust discussions around these tensions with local educators and learn about how these tensions are addressed in the classroom.
So as Dr. Pacheco mentioned, we traveled to Galapagos this summer to identify schools that we can collaborate with and discuss the program with the communities and educators there. It was essential for us to work with the local schools and learn from them about how we can be supporting their initiatives and not just bringing our students, but also collaborate with their local initiatives and what they are seeking to conduct and their goals at their local programs. Students from UW-Madison will visit and conduct projects in 2 schools. The first one is an indigenous school. The one on the right is this picture was taken at that school, and that school follows a Quechua Spanish bilingual program. Quechua is one of the languages spoken in the Andes of Ecuador. It's the language, a variety of Quechua, the language of the Incas, and And Ecuador and other Andean countries have instituted what is called the intercultural bilingual education programs. So this is just one iteration of those programs. And our students will go and see and experience how a migrant community, indigenous community from the Andes, opened this school in Galapagos to sustain their traditions and teach their Quechua language, despite being far removed from their traditional historical lands in the Andes. The second one is the picture in the center, and the one on the left was taken, those pictures were taken there. It's an Spanish-English bilingual school, which mostly caters to local population, but also to the children of researchers who go to Galapagos to work at the research stations in natural sciences programs. The program and course Dr. Pacheco and I have developed built on the work that she and I have conducted with linguistically minoritized communities from diverse ethnic and racial backgrounds in the US and in Ecuador. It also builds on research and partnerships we have developed with families in classrooms and in the interdisciplinary areas of environmental and place-based education. In our course, we also address, as Dr. Pacheco mentioned, the topic of immigration. Immigration into Galapagos is a very important topic, in some ways also controversial, because there was a law. Galapagos is governed by what is called the Galapagos Special Law, which limits the number of people who can live there because it's a protected area national park. However, this has created a kind of an underground economy in which Ecuadorians from other regions of the country, when they move there, I am Ecuadorian as well, so I cannot stay in Galapagos for more than a month, and I cannot look for work there. So the only way for a Ecuadorian national to become a Galapagueño is to marry someone from Galapagos, which always reminds me of the immigration laws in the United States, right? So we will have these discussions with our students about immigration, about also this, what Dr. Pacheco mentioned, this tension between conservationism and immigration laws, and how can we develop creative strategies and ideas around these topics, especially in the Ecuadorian Galapagos context. And so in fact, we will develop this and connect the similarities and differences with immigration laws in the United States. We will spend, in terms of our program, a week, 1 week in Quito, the capital of the country, learning about the history of the country, its demographics, the history of its education system. And then we will also get to travel to the Salasaca community, this community that created, some of these members created this school in the Galapagos Islands to learn about how this bilingual Quechua Spanish education model is implemented in the Andes. So when our students go to Galapagos, they will also see what differences and adaptations teachers and the community has had to make living in a completely different ecosystem in a coastal region. The course will also address topics related to sustainability, indigenous rights, indigenous sovereignty, racial, ethnic, and linguistic diversity. And students will gain an understanding of the various bilingual education models. So sometimes when we think about bilingual education, we only think about Spanish-English, but we want the students to be exposed to other types of bilingual education, other conceptions of bilingual education, especially around indigenous languages, and also connect these ideas with the local indigenous languages of Wisconsin. And therefore, so they can later on apply this knowledge in their own practices when in their own classrooms in the future.
So we know that, as Professor Roman mentioned, this is building on a lot of our work and our personal and professional experiences. We know that many pre-K-12 students in public schools live transnational lives, which means they have deep family and communal relationships and regular communications with people who live outside of the US. That was my own experience as a daughter of Mexican immigrants. My family regularly made trips to my parents' Mexican home to visit grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. But these transnational experiences were rarely valued and discussed in school. In fact, I actively avoided talking about them with my teachers for fear of being misunderstood or even ridiculed. So Professor Roman and I are thankful for the opportunity, but also excited to provide opportunities for UW students to expand their cultural and linguistic knowledge as well as their worldviews. We hope our study abroad program will help them build in the future, build on the transnational experiences that some pre-K-12 students bring to their classrooms. Thank you.
Great. Well, I want to thank Aydin for that great summary of what's going on with the Global Engagement Office, and also thank Maughan and Diego and Mariana for creating these classes. I think the thing that's important to point out is that these are brand new. These were created from whole cloth, and they were created during the pandemic, which is what's even more, I think, incredible. So we are so excited that these 2 courses will be going this summer, along with the other 3 that Aydin explained. I want to introduce you now to Professor Adam Nelson, who is also the Senior Associate Dean of the School of Education. And people often ask me, what is the Senior Associate Dean? What does the Senior Associate Dean do? And I describe it as Adam is like the provost of the School of Education. He is providing leadership for the entire academic department or program across 10 different departments. And he was instrumental in creating the Global Engagement Office and has been playing such a huge role in the study abroad program. So Adam, let me turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Diana. And I just want to start by saying how much I've enjoyed working with all of my colleagues on these international initiatives, including the study abroad programs. It's just been a marvel to see the work and the passion and the commitment that's going into the creation of so many new programs across the School of Education, which of course are part of the larger attempt to further internationalize the work we do at UW-Madison in the School of Education across education, health, and the arts. So with the little bit of time I have, I thought I would share a story. And it's the story of a former student I know who studied abroad. And this student studied in Sri Lanka. And what was notable about that choice is that no one in this student's family had been to Sri Lanka. No one in the student's family had been anywhere in South Asia. This was a novel experience for anyone in the student's family. And so off he went, and he went to study politics and religion, mostly Buddhist practice in Sri Lanka. Stayed for a semester and visited a lot of Buddhist temples, a lot of important sites across Sri Lanka, and sent a lot of photos home to his family. And this was a really impactful trip. Eventually, the student went on to do a PhD in the politics of South Asia. And from there went on to a very successful career in that field. And what was remarkable is that after sending photos home and telling stories about those experiences, the student's family followed in his trail and themselves visited South Asia. His parents went. His father eventually made 3 trips to Sri Lanka. His parents went to India. Eventually, even his twin brother went to India and Pakistan together.
So while Adam is frozen, let me step in and do what is terrible to do to someone, which is to share the punchline. So this incredible story that this young kid goes off, learns all these things, has this amazing effect on his family, even on his brother. And guess what? His brother is, you got it, Adam Nelson. So I think the thing about that story that I just love is that it shows how studying abroad not only affects the person who's studying abroad, but it has the potential to have an effect on the whole family. So here you're back, Adam. Sorry, I stole your thunder.
I have no idea why I went away, but I can tell from what Diana just said that she communicated the main point brilliantly. The student who went abroad was my brother, and the effect of that experience influenced our whole family. And so what's incredible is that as we think in the School of Education about sending more students abroad, we're thinking about the ways in which that might be an experience that's has ripple effects out from them. Many of you on this call maybe studied abroad. Maybe you know friends and family who studied abroad. Maybe you didn't study abroad, which was my own experience, and you wish you had. And we're trying to make that experience available to more students in the school. As Diana mentioned at the outset, we're really committed to creating study abroad programs connected to students' majors in the School of Education. And these summer courses give them an opportunity to make progress toward their degree, broaden their horizons, meet new people, encounter new cultures in ways that they might not otherwise have a chance to do. As Aydin mentioned, we have 123 students who have applied to participate in our first cohort of programs. That is extraordinary. We are thrilled by that level of enthusiasm. And so many of them are able to go because of the financial support that we're able to provide. As we grow more programs, we hope more students will apply, and we hope we'll be able to continue to extend that opportunity through financial support. The partnerships that we've been developing across campus with the Office of International Academic Programs are helping to make that possible. And we know that Friends of the School are also interested in helping make this dream a reality. It's a dream for the school, and I know it's a dream for our students. I'll stop there. Sorry I disappeared.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you to all of the presenters. We have a remaining 17 minutes together, and we really want to use this time to answer your questions. Please use the chat to start typing in any question you might have for any one of the speakers that were featured here today. We also have some questions that were sent in advance. We are going to try to get to as many as we can. If we don't get to your question, we will be sure to follow up with you personally after this event. So again, feel free to start using the chat, typing in your questions, but I do have one that I'm going to just start with right away, and I'm going to ask it of our Dean, Diana Hess. How has the pandemic affected study abroad planning and its future?
That's a great question. Well, I mentioned that these courses were created during the pandemic. And what was interesting is we were just getting ready to get people rolling on creating new courses, and then the pandemic hit. But because we had already authorized these new courses, the faculty and staff, including the folks that you met today, were able to work during the pandemic on creating these courses. And I'm not sure, I don't want to speak for the three people who spoke today, but there are other folks that I've talked to about this, and they said that one of the things that was great about this is that there were many hard times during the pandemic. It was a very, very challenging experience. And to have something to focus on that you were building and creating that you knew would be a wonderful experience was nice. It was, I know for us, for the leadership of the school, we were thrilled to have things that were being built because it gave us some time during the day when we weren't focused on all the challenges of the pandemic. Now, of course, the thing that we had to wait on was the actual trips to the countries in order to get everything set up. But as soon as it was clear that people could travel again, the teams headed off, and you saw pictures of what they experienced when they were setting up what the courses would be like. So I don't want to say the pandemic was a silver lining at all, but I do want to say that we were able to have this development taking place during the pandemic, which was a great thing, because if we hadn't, then we wouldn't be rolling this summer. We would be a whole year behind.
Thanks, Diana. We've got some great questions rolling in. So I'm going to go with this one here of, Aydin, if you could address this for new courses that are being created, will the courses be offered regularly? So for example, will Portugal be offered again in a future summer? And also maybe Diana, you could follow up on this question. And we did receive this as a preset question as well of, are there opportunities to do student teaching outside of the US, and or are there ways for our teacher education students to participate? So Aydin first and then followed by Diana. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks so much for this wonderful question. Of course, yes, we are going to offer these programs, more programs and sustainable ways. When we work with the departments, We have funding opportunities thanks to donors, the wonderful donors and the friends of our school. We provide a 3-year support, a 3-step support for our program developers, faculty leaders. They work on the curricula. Then after that, they visit the site before they take the students over there, and then they start their program. And each department, when we work with the departments and the faculty members, each department is committing to offer these programs to our School of Education students at least over 5 years. So while we are having these 3 programs, then the new 3 up till hopefully 18, 20 programs, we want to sustain those programs. Again, this is a new era. This is not only like a one-stop and a quick fix of this globalization. This is a systemic transformation and paradigm shift. And hopefully we are going to take this Wisconsin idea, just like we did in the United States, we take this Wisconsin idea to global context. So yes, we will provide more programs, and we are going to keep offering those programs.
Let me turn to the student teacher question. Right now, we do not have a way for our teacher education students to do their student teaching in other nations. In the past, we have had some experiments with that, and I think there's some openness to thinking about how to do that. But what's important is that these classes are running in the summer, and they are available and being advertised to our teacher ed students. And so, for example, the class that Mariana and Diego teaching, they're teacher ed students going on that class. And as you can tell from the content of that class, it will be really important for future teachers. In a similar fashion, in kinesiology, we have the physical education teacher education program. And my hunch is that there's some of those students who are going on the class that Maughan is teaching. So what we did when we designed this was to try to make sure that teacher ed students had an opportunity to study abroad.
Wonderful, thank you. And I see we've got a theme here going somewhat around the Wisconsin idea that then is connected with a few more questions here. So I'm going to pose one to Adam, if you could answer this one. As more of the faculty and students study abroad, how will they bring back to the school and share those things that they learn and want to experiment with here in the US?
That's such a great question. I hope I don't blink out during my answer. We'll see. So in a way, that question touches at the heart of the whole initiative, which is that not only students, but faculty who are leading those students abroad will be able to incorporate what they learn and the collaborations that they develop abroad into the teaching that they're doing back here on campus. And not only internationalize the experience of courses that students are taking here on campus, but we hope inspire even more students to think about studying abroad on one of the programs that we're developing. So I think the examples of the ways in which there will be a feedback loop and sort of reciprocity between what we're doing here on campus and what we're learning from our friends, colleagues, and partners abroad is essentially the heart of the whole initiative, recognizing that we are part of a world that is interconnected in every conceivable way, and introducing our students to thinking that way about their experience and their professional lives.
Thanks, Adam. Let's see here. We've got a couple of other really great questions. I'm being mindful of time here. Is the School of Education coordinating any study abroad programs with other schools at the UW to allow interaction between the students either during or after their return? Diana, do you want to address this one?
Yeah, and then I'll turn it over to Adam as well. So the courses are open to School of Education students, but they're also open to students who are from any other school or college on campus. As you know, the SOE is one of 13. And so we wanted to make sure that we provided opportunities for other students as well. But to be very specific about this, we were primarily concerned about School of Ed students because it was our students who we knew were not studying abroad at the same rate as students in other schools and colleges for the reasons that I mentioned at the beginning of the program. But we absolutely have made these programs available to other students as well. Adam, is there something you would like to add about that?
just briefly reinforce that point. All of our study abroad programs include students whose majors are outside the School of Education, but the vast majority of the students who are participating in these programs are majoring inside the school. And it's important to note that a lot of our students double major. And so they have a major inside the School of Education, a major outside the School of Education. One of the great things about the School of Ed at Wisconsin is that it's so integrated with the rest of the campus. So our programs are connected to global health, for example. Students are studying global health and HPHE, or they're studying ed policy and global health, and so on and so forth. So yes, there are partnerships, some more direct, some less direct.
Great, thank you both. There's a theme here too of kind of talking about undergraduate versus graduate. We understand that these courses so far have featured undergraduates, but there's a question around what sort of experiences are we able to offer our graduate students? Adam, would you be able to address that one?
Yeah, I'll circle back to points that Aydin made about some of the opportunities that the Global Engagement Office coordinates for graduate students to either present their research abroad or do pilot research abroad. We have a lot of students in the graduate programs who are doing their research abroad in comparative education, in curriculum instruction, special education, which is Aydin's field. So our students are very internationally oriented with their research already. And one of the things I think that we're hoping to do even more of is support graduate research internationally. So sometimes to get an international project going, you have to be able to do pilot research so that you can apply for the fellowship, the grant that allows you to complete the full-scale dissertation project and so on. So that's something we hope to expand.
And let me just add to that, that we also have this wonderful program to support students who are presenting their research at international conferences. This is the Hartzman Scholarship Award, and that has been instrumental. It causes our students to apply to present internationally. We know that a lot of the fields that our students are in are truly international fields. It's very important for them to have exposure to international conferences. And in the past, it was very difficult for students to have the resources to do that. But now, because of the Hartzman program, we have lots of students who are doing that. So that's just another opportunity that I think is really fabulous.
Great point. Aydin, I'm wondering if you could address this. It's more so around criteria of participation. So will students be able to attend these programs after freshman or sophomore years? Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Of course. All of our students can attend. Only one thing, we don't want them to delay their graduation. So seniors graduating this spring, we just ask them to just say, maybe you can apply during the grad school if you have those programs, but except those students who are graduating this spring, it's open to all students. All students,
yeah, and one more clarifying question too from a previous participant, just around, do these courses, just to clarify, count towards course credits? Yes. Great. So we have time for just one more question, and it was also pre-sent in more so just in the teacher education space as we're rounding out some of these programs, but thinking also about just what we're focused on in the teacher education space. So this is for Diana. How can we better address the national teacher shortage?
That's a great question. You know, we're really concerned about the national teacher shortage, and we're very concerned about the teacher shortage here in the state of Wisconsin. So the thing that we're doing that we hope is addressing both of those challenges is the teacher pledge, which is another part of Impact 2030. So the teacher pledge says to any of our teacher ed students in any of our 15 different teacher ed programs, if you pledge to stay in Wisconsin to teach for either 3 or 4 years, depending on what field you're in and whether you're in a high need school, we pledge a promise to pay your tuition, your student fees, your testing fees. We've had over 500 students in this program More than 200 have graduated and are teaching in 65 different school districts across Wisconsin. We are doing research on this program to see what effect it has. And we're hoping that if the program is effective, it will be picked up in other places. So in that way, I think it has the potential to have a national impact. This is all privately funded. It's a massive undertaking, let me say. But so far, what we're hearing from students is that it's doing three things. One, it's causing people to come into teaching who otherwise wouldn't. Two, it's causing people to stay in Wisconsin who otherwise perhaps would not. And three, it's causing people to stay in teaching longer, which we know is really important. Because if you think back, for those of you who are teachers, to your first year of teaching, it's really tough. And we actually lose a lot of people in the profession after their first or second year. So the Teacher Pledge is not only this program where we're paying people's tuition, but we also have this very cool program in the summer where our alums come back for a week of really high intensity professional development. And we think that might have an effect as well. So I think a lot of the students who are studying abroad are students who either are currently or will be taking the Teacher Pledge. Because again, we wanted to make sure that all of the students in our teacher ed programs had opportunities to study abroad. And those were the students who prior to this new initiative really didn't have many opportunities to study abroad.
Thank you, Diana. So with that, I wish we had more time because I see that we have a few more questions we didn't get to. Again, we will follow up with you after this event directly to answer those questions. So I want to thank everyone and turn it over to Dean Hess for closing remarks.
Well, once again, I want to really say thank you to the faculty and staff who have created these courses. I want to thank Aydin for his amazing work as a faculty director of GEO, and Adam for all the work he's doing to support the development of not only these courses, but the other things going on in that office. I'm so grateful that so many of you came today. I'm having so much fun reading what you're saying in the chat, and you're also texting me. So I got one text that said, I want to go on those courses. And I got another text from somebody who actually has been supporting the development of the courses through a very generous donation, saying how happy she and her husband are that this is coming to fruition. So I'm just very grateful that this is up and running, and it's really exciting to watch. And I'm looking forward to not only what happens this summer, but what will happen in the summers going forward. So to all of you who are here today, thank you so much. It's been great to see you. If you've got any additional questions or any feedback, please send it our way. We'll make sure to send you an answer to your question, and we'll make sure to take your feedback into consideration. It's important for us to make sure that what we're doing is not in a vacuum, and the feedback and the help that you've been giving us has made a huge difference. So with that, let me say goodbye to everyone. To those of you in a warm place, we envy you. To those of you in a cold place, we feel your pain. Have a great afternoon. Take care. Bye-bye.